I do need to move on, Chris. I know you're chomping at the bit for one here, and so I'm going to ask you about higher education here. So we found this story again, the Capitol Chronicle, and folks, just take a second. Go subscribe to them. An indispensable source of news in the state of Indiana. I cannot recommend their work enough. I rely on it a whole hell of a lot. But this week, we find that canceled federal grants cost Indiana education institutions millions of dollars. So, the nation's largest scientific research funder abruptly canceled hundreds of millions of dollars in grants earlier this year, specifically targeting projects that address diversity, inclusion, or vaccines. Now, who is this largest scientific research funder? Well, it's the National Institutes of Health. So, 21 grants across 4 Indiana higher education institutions, totaling $24.5 million, were lost. Okay, so more than half of these canceled projects from the NIH, about 14 million, are for projects at IU Indianapolis, specifically the School of Medicine. Purdue lost nearly $6.2 million in grants. Notre Dame $3.2 million. And IU Bloomington here, only 3 projects for a combined $641,000, but 2 of those may be restored following legal battles. Okay, so we're in decent shape here in Bloomington, right? No, there's an additional $15.5 million in grants to Indiana schools under the National Science Foundation that were canceled. Under that program, Bloomington lost $6.2 million, Ivy Tech $238,000, Purdue $8 million, Notre Dame $642,000. All right, listen, that's just a lot of numbers. What kind of research, what kind of valuable information are we potentially losing out with these canceled grants? Okay, here's one for you. At Notre Dame, a $2 million award to chemistry professor Juan Del Valle, who is studying a type of molecular bonding common in certain Alzheimer's patients and finding ways to selectively disrupt it. His research was flagged by the NIH because it contained the words trans and diverse. The project's abstract refers to cellular transmission at various points and diverse modes of B sheet packing. Additionally, the word barrier might have sunk a $5.7 million IU School of Medicine glaucoma study. Professor Jason Meyer, a molecular geneticist, sought to identify ways to replace certain cells within the eye's nerves that are damaged by glaucoma, which is the leading cause of irreversible blindness in the world. Where did he run afoul? The project's title, Overcoming Barriers to Retinal Ganglion Cell Replacement in Experimental Glaucoma. Chris, listen. I know you're a conservative, you're a Republican, you don't want to see wasteful government spending, but, they've totally gone overboard, right?
Completely. And I just think it's no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you are taking away money from research towards Alzheimer's and glaucoma and things that so many Americans deal with and struggle with every single day, and you're just completely halting all of the progress that we're making on things like that. No, I think it's awful, and that it shouldn't be done. It feels like they're just putting Command F into everything and looking trans or diversity and stuff like that. And or an AI is trying to flag when it sees the words, right? Nobody's really looking into these things because medicine shouldn't be political. I don't see medicine as political. And, there's different effects of different medications, and we could talk about that, right? But all of the stuff that the government is funding isn't trying to, cause division or, make a certain medicine for one type of group and not for another. It's this is for collective humanity right here. This is not just for the country. This is for the world. And we should be the leaders in innovation and creation and be the first step in medical research and be the example for countries across the world. So I do disagree with that wholeheartedly of having to of needing that funding from the federal government. And as a true Republican who believes in a smaller big government, I still think that the government who has so much money should be funding a lot of these places because one, it's gonna benefit the economies of those places if we're continuing to put money into it, and we're gonna continue to fund doctors and innovate and create these new pieces of infrastructure. That's going to help economies, and then it's going to help the whole world as a result, because we are going to be that leader in breaking down barriers, in creating change, and creating breakthroughs. And right now, we are halting all the breakthroughs that we can possibly make in the future.
And if you want to look at it from a shameless capitalist perspective, this is bad for capital.
Mhm.
All of this research stuff, so much of that doesn't pan out, but you got to do it. Um, hoping to find that gold nugget, and that gold nugget can turn into, like, I don't know, the internet. You can base your entire economy on it. Like,
Exactly, and I think that's the thing
yeah,
with scientific research too, is like, you get so much out of realizing that something doesn't work, right? And like, even though like you sometimes show somebody like, okay, like we did this experiment and we didn't cure Alzheimer's, but we found out that this has an effect on Alzheimer's patients, and that, based on this result, we can try a new experiment that may be able to target a new gene, right? Like, failures in science is what makes science continue to progress and allows us to continue to progress. And so we can't say this worked, so we can continue to fund it, or this didn't work, so we should stop. No, if it failed, there's a reason it failed, and we have to continue to fund it to be able to get to that proper point where we have success in it.
yeah, yeah. The science, the literal definition of it is fuck around and find out.
Well,
It
literally,
turns out.
I'm taking a biology class right now. Like, I have to take because I'm a government and education major, but I have to take a lab still. And we like, it's a 100 level biology class, but like we started out with just creating a hypothesis, the scientific method, creating an experiment, and how failure from experiment leads to more experiments being done, and then at the end of the day leads to greater change.